talk to Mbazi Mashilowa. He is the former General Secretary of Cosatu, and he speaks to us now about what we saw yesterday. Mr. Shilowa, thank you very much for your time. How should ordinary South Africans rationalize or make sense of Mantashe's booing by workers on Monday?
Well, I think they should understand that it shows that insofar as public sector workers are concerned, they think that an ANC government that many of them campaigned for, especially leaders of Cosatu, Cosatu, and Nehau, they were among the first people to pronounce on the leadership for President Ramaphosa. And therefore, when there was that problem of 1 year of salaries not being paid, it going to court, they just would have concluded that, look, we need to send a message to say to them, will not be taken for granted. Yes, it is something that they could have handled differently, but sometimes it's better to let the boil, and then you lance it, take out the past, and hopefully be able to move forward.
Should President Cyril Ramaphosa expect the same frosty reception from the delegates at this Congress? And I ask you this with the background of May Day. That's 1 May. You will remember very well that he was booed in Rustenburg. So, if he does address this Congress, or if he does come through, should he expect the same treatment? By the way, he was meant to address there yesterday.
Yes, I don't think that he will be going there to address them. As I understand it, they're going to allow Gwede to address them today, because at least the message have already been received. I think that, frankly, I'm sure the Cosatu leadership and some of the leadership of the affiliates must have gotten wind that the workers were restless, they were going to disrupt, and said to him, well, we understand you need to be here, but you don't have to come. For me, I just hope that the incident of yesterday does not become the only defining thing in terms of this Congress, because the Congress have got a lot more things to discuss outside of politics of the ANC and the Alliance. It must look at issues of a weakened trade union movement. How do they rebuild it? Yeah. How do they work with other federations? In a situation of high unemployment, poverty, inequality, no public transport, I think these are the things that they need to be focusing on. Yes, politics is important, but I don't think that really should be the sum total of their focus at the conference.
I'll ask you in a moment to give us your thoughts on whether or not the Cosatu leadership is immune to this treatment that has been given to ANC leaders. But let's conclude on both President Ramaphosa and the chairperson, Gwede Mantashe. Do you think their treatment by workers in this way, given their history as leaders of the trade union movement, do you think that that could be described or characterized as a fall from grace?
I wouldn't say it's a fall from grace. I think they are seasoned leaders and trade unionists. They know, Mantashe has been booed as a general secretary of NUM by his own members. Cyril himself have had to, face some of those particular issues. I don't think that it will be a fall from grace, but I think it is a wake-up call to say they come from Cosatu. They understand the issues at Cosatu. Surely they could take time, Mantashe, Ramaphosa, Ibrahim Patel, Enoch Godongwana, sit down and say, guys, what are the real problems? How do we smooth them? What agreement can we reach which you can implement and we can implement, especially with 2024 coming, that we can't afford any rupture unless we want to kiss governance goodbye.
On the back of the May Day celebrations, the heckling of President Cyril Ramaphosa there, where he ended up leaving the stadium without addressing the workers.
Yes.
I want to ask you, based on that opinion that you wrote, because you said that the Cosatu leadership are not immune to that kind of treatment. Why should they fear that this could come their way?
It may not come to them at this Congress, because you've got a different group of leaders there. But I think if things continue like this, it is not inconceivable that, somewhere when they are addressing this or that other rally, workers may boo them off the stage. But it can be prevented. And the best way to prevent it is to return back to what trade unionism is all about, is to always carry your members with. Even if it means you make enemies outside of Cosatu, but you know solidly you've got Cosatu behind you. That's what they have to try and work on.
Are you saying that if they do not focus their attention on shop floor issues,
yes,
one or other rallies that they may address post this Congress? By the way, perhaps we should start with whether or not these current leaders could possibly be re-elected here, or could that also be an expression of that dissatisfaction if a good number of them do not return?
No, I think that if there's contestation, it may be one or two positions. I think the position of president, of general secretary, of first deputy, and maybe of treasurer, I think those are sort of like pretty much safe. So I think at the level of having confidence in the leadership, I don't think there's a problem. I think the problem is going to be if continuously workers come second best in negotiations, especially in the public sector, where some of the things are just ignored. Workers are going to say to Mugwena Maluleke, what is the point? And maybe when he goes to address people, you may find that they may boo him. Because remember, they will still have to go back and say to them, look, we're going back to the negotiations. There's a 3% on the table. What do we do? So all I'm really saying is that it's important that they carry their base. But it's not unheard of workers heckling their own leaders. I've been heckled. Jay have been heckled. Tomomo has been heckled. It's par for the course.
Interesting times indeed. Mr. Shilowa, I can't let you go without giving you the opportunity to opine on what we have just heard this morning from the ANC KZN leadership preferences. And they're saying that these are branches of the ANC who are expressing this view popularly in their majority, in other words. And that is that Dr. Zweli Mkhize, who at the moment has a cloud dating back to the time that he was health minister, they're saying that he is the preferred leader of the ANC. How is that likely to go down with ordinary citizens of South Africa come 2024, if indeed it does succeed?
Well, my focus is that, these are ANC internal processes. The ANC, in deciding who their leaders are doing it first for own internal issues, but secondly, they're doing it with an eye to 2024. And I think that depending on the leaders that they put, they're going to have difficulties. It's difficult for me to say they will fare less better with Zweli Mkhize, because frankly, I think out there from the broader public, that goodwill that even President Ramaphosa had, I think it's gone. So it may not even matter who they bring up if voters have already decided we're going to ditch the ANC, they'll ditch it whether there's Cyril, whether there's Zweli Mkhize there. Even though I think, unless Cyril is charged for the Phala issue, I don't see Zweli coming through.
Okay, let's conclude the conversation then. Former President Jacob Zuma has put his hand up to say that branches of the ANC have approached me and they want me to come back as chairperson of this party. Has that been seen before in the ANC? And what do you say to those who say, no, but as former president, he now belongs to a different league of that party, and that is the Veterans League?
Again, the membership will decide. I don't see it happening. But no, it is not unheard of. Mm-hmm. The reason why we have the position of national chairperson in the ANC at the moment is because at the 1991 conference, where Mandela was elected the president, Sisulu deputy, Cyril SG deputized by Zuma, there was a proposal made from the floor by Frene Ginwala that sometimes in the 60s, there used to be position of national chairperson set aside for an elder statesman. So shouldn't we reactivate that and therefore elect Oliver Tambo to it? That's how Oliver Tambo became from president of the ANC to national chairperson. So it will not be unheard of, but I don't see it happening. I think President Zuma should accept that insofar as leadership positions are concerned, he's yesterday's man.
Well, there's your history from the ANC politics, from a man who used to be within the ranks of the ANC and indeed of the trade union movement. Well, let's take you back. As you can see,